Hey guys, welcome to another video about my insane ramblings, obsessions, and general hyperfixation. I have a bit of an affinity towards failed hardware. The market is filled with failed attempts into the hardware and software markets. Not everyone's going to end up like Nintendo. Most people are going to end up like the Virtual Boy. The last time we talked about something, it was game streaming, but the last time we talked about hardware, it was the Dreamcast. Can you focus? Can you focus on the damn Dreamcast? If I'm honest, I really enjoyed the Dreamcast. Bad sales aren't really indicative of a bad product, but sometimes they kinda are.
This is the Alienware Steam Machine, one of the PCs in Valve's lineup of PCs made by different PC hardware vendors to attempt and get a foot in the door of PC gaming in the living room, or in other words, a console competitor. And I won't only be covering this today, but also the horrible, confusing history leading up to this thing being released. It's just a shame that it released already in an open casket. Now, this thing isn't a console. For some reason, people like to say computers are consoles, but consoles are specialized computers made specifically for gaming. By this definition, all gaming PCs are consoles, which just isn't the case. The Steam Deck and Steam machines are, for all intents and purposes, gaming PCs. There were multiple Alienware SKUs, which pretty much means that there were multiple types of these, all with different specifications. This one I got is actually the best of the ones that you can possibly buy. I wasn't looking for this one, but this is the one I found. For some reason, the guy who was selling this still had the protective plastic on it, so let's remove that. Oh yeah. Okay, now that that's over.
It sucks. Now I can't just say that it sucks because that would be bad video making. It sucks for a lot of reasons.
First off, the operating system. Obviously, this thing originally came with Steam OS. I know that because there's no Windows sticker on this. Any system that comes with Windows installed on it should have a Windows sticker on it. The original operating system was not good. Steam OS was a good idea, but running it on Linux back in 2015 was kind of the first nail in the coffin. And there were a lot more nails in this coffin, but this is the main one. This Steam machine, when I got it, it already had Windows installed on it, and for obvious reasons. Linux in 2015, up until recently, was just really bad for gaming, and it's still a worse platform for gaming than Windows. I tried to install the original Steam OS on it, but it just would not let me. I tried for 2 days, guys. I really tried. I did so many things to try and get this installed and up and running, but it crashes on boot no matter what. Thankfully, 3 days ago, Mr. Linus Tech Tip himself stole my glory of covering the Steam machine, but you know, I'm at least glad to know that he also couldn't install Steam OS either.
Would boot past the first-time setup wizard. Anthony did some digging and found that Valve's custom compositor seems to be crashing.
This is almost certainly a recent thing, probably due to the Steam Deck. It seems that within the past few weeks, or even month or two, Valve has gone through their SteamOS downloads and actually took down these downloads. They were working, as far as I know, latest on December 31st of 2022. That's when I downloaded it from their website repositories, and since then, well, they're gone. So maybe if I got my Steam machine when I wanted it back in November, this video would have been up and running with Steam OS on it. But sadly, I think Valve stopped providing for it when they changed the old big picture to the new big picture. So instead, to make this video interesting, I've decided to use various Linux distros, mainly Pop! OS and Ubuntu. For now, it's Pop! OS. Pop! OS is kind of a gaming-supported Linux distro. Not really, but kind of. Now, Linux users, please don't kill me. I know more than the average person, but not more than the average Linux user. I've installed Pop! OS in the past, but you'll see later on my opinions on this sort of thing, so hop off my dick and sudo apt install some bitches. Thank you. This thing, which I'll be referring to as just the Steam machine, dropping the Alienware stuff, is filled with garbage hardware, but I think I'm gonna tell you the prices first, cause they're insane. I thought there were 4, but I can only find 3. The base model comes with an Intel i3-4170T processor, 500GB of storage, and 4GB of RAM, and a customized GTX 860M integrated GPU, and it comes in at $450 US. The GPU is actually the only constant between all of these models, so the next model at $650 has an i5 Intel 4590T processor, 8GB of RAM, and 1TB of storage. Now for the model I have, this was selling for an insane 750 American Freedom Bucks with an i7 4785T and no RAM upgrade and still only 8GB of RAM. You'd hope that in 2015 for $750 you'd be getting a really good computer, and I'm sad to say it wasn't. This price is not worth it, not in the slightest. On SteamOS, you can get by on 8GB of RAM, but on Windows 10, you're really pushing it. But the problem isn't really the 8GB of RAM, it's the 860M. If you know about computers a little bit, NVIDIA graphics cards typically get better with ascending numbers. In 2015, a GTX 780 graphics card was a really good card, and in 2014, the GTX 970 was a huge improvement over the 780. So much so that if you still have a 970 today, you can still play a lot of modern games at playable frame rates. This card was that good. So by the number rule, you're probably thinking, well, 800 is between 700 and 900, right? And an 860 sounds pretty good. Well, it does until you realize for some reason NVIDIA actually didn't make any 800 series graphics cards. The 800 series was exclusive to what we called a mobile chipset, which is why it's called the 860M. Which means it sucks. For $750 in 2015, you can make a computer far better than this. Hell, you can make a better computer for far less than this. Now that processor in there, the CPU, is actually a full-on desktop GPU. So that's where a lot of the money is going. This is a genuinely good CPU in here, and it could be upgraded as long as it's the same chipset and supported by the power supply. This CPU will still play a lot of modern games pretty well. And that's why the 860M in this thing is such a disappointment. Having an actual graphics card in this thing would have made it so much better. And while more expensive, it's only this expensive because it's a compact pre-built computer by Alienware. Pre-builds in the past were infamously overexpensive for what you get. In recent years, this has changed a good amount, but in 2015, this was still in full force, especially for brands like Alienware. So pretty much, you weren't really buying a console competitor, you were buying what is essentially a glorified laptop without a screen, keyboard, or mouse. And you were actually getting a machine that was actually worse than the consoles it was competing with, the Xbox One and PS4, which you can get for about $300, $400, I don't know, I don't look up the money. In everything except CPU, this is worse than the consoles, which is ironic because a lot of what was holding back those consoles was their weak CPUs. So games like Fallout 4 actually run better on the Steam machine at the right settings because Fallout 4 isn't a graphically intensive game. Now sadly I have to put down something that sucks hard. Linux, at least on the 860M, does not support DirectX 12. To explain to the non-tech savvy, DirectX is known as a graphics API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. Fun fact, DirectX is actually what the Xbox is named after, DirectX Box. So this means that an API is pretty much a language for computers that allows two pieces of software to properly communicate between them and make things run more efficiently. So a computer talked a game and it run good. There's a lot of DirectX versions, the most recent being 12. DirectX from its inception has been developed by Microsoft for Windows, meaning Linux doesn't natively support it and has to do translations to get these games to run. DirectX 8 to 11 are actually very well along on Linux, and some games on Linux can run better than they ever did on Windows. But since DirectX 12 is new, and this 860M is old, and not properly supported, and NVIDIA doesn't really like to support Linux that well, DX12 will just never properly boot or display anything on this computer. Monster Hunter Rise is a DX12 game and will run fine on Windows, but Linux, it's out of the question. Every game that only supports DX12 is completely unplayable on Linux, at least on the 860M. If you have a newer graphics card, it should work fine. Now, this doesn't mean that if you were to install Linux on your computer, it wouldn't run a DX12 game. It's just specifically this hardware that's the problem. If this thing had an AMD brand of GPU, it would almost certainly run. And there's probably a way to get this working on this one, but I couldn't figure it out. Linux isn't exactly a welcoming environment to anyone who isn't willing to put in the time, and I did, and still didn't get what I wanted, so I'll go fuck myself. And recently as well, as I said, Steam replaced the old Big Picture with the new Big Picture, which is found on the Steam Deck, and it runs like shit here, dude! Though on Windows and Ubuntu, it doesn't run even half as bad. Don't know why, can't tell ya, things just are, and they will stay as is. Don't ask questions you want the answer to, you know don't have answers. This is a new thing though, so maybe over time it'll run better, but right now, clearly not. But all of this aside, let's get to some actual game testing. So, obviously, every DX12 game is off the table, but I did some Windows footage just to show it. Modern games, even from the PS4 era, either run just fine or don't run well at all. So I threw the harder to run last gen games at the thing like Cyberpunk, and obviously it ran like garbage, so to push this even farther, I tried the Dead Space remake, and that one just actually refused to get past the compiling shader step. It crashed. So if for some reason you were looking forward to booting up Dead Space remake on your Alienware Steam machine, I got some bad news for you. You genuinely bizarre person. And obviously I tried Monster Hunter Rise, and to no surprise to anyone, it ran pretty well considering it's a Switch game. That's all the Windows footage I'm going to give because I want the true Steam machine experience here. And the true Steam Machine experience in 2015 would be realizing Linux sucks and then booting up Windows. So obviously this thing isn't really running PS4 games, at least on par with that console. Games like Doom Eternal run decently well on this thing though, probably because Eternal is just a well-made game. But also uses Vulkan, which is another graphics API that natively supports Linux. As far as I know, if a game runs Vulkan, it always runs on Linux. If it doesn't use an anti-cheat or other program, of course. Don't take that as gospel, it's just how I've experienced it. I know I talk pretty confident about things I know, but I try to keep it obvious about what I do and don't know. Hell, sometimes I think I know, like I thought I knew I was funny, but now I'm not too sure. Someone disliked one of my videos, and it's violently affected my ego. Doom Eternal doesn't run perfectly, but if you want to play this game at 60 FPS on really low settings and resolution, I think it's doable. Or even 30 FPS at okay settings like a madman. Be my guest, it's totally doable. On Pop! OS specifically, for some reason, booting the game had it crash a couple of times. Not sure why, but other than those 2 crashes, the game worked flawlessly. But those crashes didn't happen on other Linux versions I tested it on. Really, what you're going to be using this thing for is indie games, games that aren't very graphically intensive, and Xbox 360 era games. Not every indie game will run, some of those new ones can get pretty crazy, but games like Deep Rock Galactic support DX11, Dark Souls runs perfect on this thing, Ultra Kill obviously runs great, Metro 2033 Redux will hit 60 FPS easily, even with how nice it looks. Borderlands 2 just straight up runs better on this computer than my main computer. It doesn't get a better frame rate or anything, but Borderlands 2 is actually infamous for how bad it runs on newer hardware. So it could either be the old hardware in this thing, Linux, or both contributing to a better gameplay experience. And a good example for newer indie games that would be perfect for this is Signalis. It's a great indie game using a PS1 aesthetic that fits right at home on the Steam Machine. Sonic Mania obviously also runs very well. I also tried to run The Witcher 3, but it gave me some problems. It probably ran better before the next-gen update. I deem this unplayable on this machine. Even at lower resolutions, for some reason, trying to run it at a lower resolution did this, but it still didn't hit 30 FPS at low. It's just far from what I would consider a playable experience. Fighting games as well, as long as they run on Linux, run perfectly. Unist, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Persona 4 Arena, pretty much any fighting game should run on this aside from like maybe Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 5 is a bit of a weird one, but if you play other fighting games, maybe modern Guilty Gear, it should run on this. If you play fighting games at tournaments or have a friend's house that you want to go to and you just want to shove something in and help the local scene, this PC is genuinely far from a bad choice. It should run anything you need to throw at it. And BioShock Infinite. This game kind of has weird performance on PC, but it still plays good enough. You can cap it to 30 and it'd play perfectly. It'd be on par, if not better than the PlayStation 3 version. So even without DX12, this thing is a genuinely competent little machine. It wasn't really priced well for the actual hardware you get from it, but there is uses. Using this as a living room PC to connect to and stream games from my room to out here is a good choice for modern games and even DX12 ones that don't run natively on this Linux. If I can't play Monster Hunter natively here and I don't want to bring my Switch out here, this isn't exactly the worst option. Okay, for the entire beginning of this video, this thing has been running a hard drive in it, and it sucks. It's so slow, it's making the entire recording process a genuine hell. I've, no joke, wasted 2 whole days just trying to get these things to run and record whatever. I'm taking this thing apart. Hello, welcome to my floor. I have a towel on the floor, and here I have, obviously, Steam Machine. It's gonna go out of focus a lot, but that doesn't matter. Because, screw you guys. So I'm going to be opening this up, throwing a new SSD in there, because the hard drive in this thing absolutely sucks. I don't really know how to take this thing apart, but I've seen a video of people taking it apart. It's not that bad. So this is the dongle for the Steam controller. I'm going to take that out for now. Never know what you're going to need. Going to be throwing in this later. And also, hopefully applying some new thermal paste. Apparently this thing is super easy to take apart, but we're going to be finding that out now. Okay, yeah, that was pretty easy. Oh my god, there's cockroaches in it. Yeah, no wonder this thing fucking is absolutely filthy. That makes a lot of sense. That's fucking disgusting. That is disgusting. Closer into the mic, because Jesus Christ. Okay, how am I going to clean this shit? I need to pause the recording. God damn it. Okay, I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna take a vacuum cleaner to it because here's a fact for you. Vacuum cleaners are not good. That is disgusting. Oh, Jesus Christ. God damn it. Okay. I'm gonna have to like deep clean this shit because there's like legs and shit. Oh boy. So this should be the hard drive. I don't want to touch this. I'm very like germaphobe, so it's really gross to me. I don't like corpses of bugs. I'm actually glad I did this on a towel now. I just did this because my floor is dirty and I have birds, so there's bird shit on my floor, and I didn't feel like mopping it. I'm going to be honest with you. This steam machine actually came from New York, I think. It should have been New York. This guy had the listing on there for like 2 years, and no one bought it. It even came with a steam control, so it was a pretty good price, and there was other steam machines that were bought between that time. So I don't know what specifically was unappealing about this one. Yeah, that'll do it. Oh, I'm like Inspector Gadget in this shit. There we go. Go Gadget, unscrew the hard drive from the corpse controller. I don't know. What am I pushing? Get your fucking... Alright. There's gonna probably be a lot of shit in here. No, we're good. Okay. CPU fan, right side. GPU fan, left side. Yeah, that's gross in there. So if we look in here, if this person actually used this a fair amount, we can probably expect that this thermal paste is going to be extremely dried out. If you guys don't know about tech and you're watching my channel, it's okay. I'm just talking to myself to pass the time to distract me from the fact that I've had corpses in my room more than I knew. And also I need to add commentary. Yeah, that is bone dry. You know what? If I had to clean this up, fix it up, it was probably overheating. This is very dried out thermal paste. It was probably thermal throttling the moment this thing got on. I've actually realized that this thing is actually extremely hot when it's running. Probably getting poor thermal, like poor conduction. I should have assumed that. Maybe that's why this guy... A lot of people don't understand that all technology will suffer the same problems. Your consoles will get old. You know, a console isn't going to last longer than a PC or anything. It's just a stigma because you don't know the difference. You're not tech savvy like that. A new console and an old console are going to behave differently. It's just nature. Not even nature, it's just science. Oh, that's tiny. So this here's the GPU. As you can see, it is very tiny, and it's connected to the board, so I can't put a new GPU in there. And that's garbage. And that's why this thing partially sucks. Uh-oh, spoilers. I have to go get some cleaning materials, if I'm being honest now, so... I got rubbing alcohol. Oh boy. So I got 70% here. Linus Tech tip for you. If you are new to technology, you're going to want 90% isopropyl. I'm not going to take this out, but I'm probably going to show you. Yeah. Hopefully you can get a zoom in of that. Oh, this is coming off very easily. That's how you know how... That is very bad. That is a very bad state. I honestly might put this back together and start it up just to see how well it performs after a new thermal paste has been put on. A lot of these smaller compact computers have a lot of problems with that. I got a lot of thermal paste on the side here. I'm going to leave that. I don't care. This is a full desktop CPU. It can be replaced. This isn't like your average laptop CPU. There we go. That was a lot easier than this should have just made sense. This thing sucks. 1 terabyte. 6 gigabytes a second? That is some bullshit. Oh great, I got thermal paste on me. So this thing's garbage. There we go. So we're losing some hard drive space, but that does not matter in the slightest. You know, I'm probably not going to say this in the rest of the video scripted, but I fucking hate Alienwares. I bought this thing only for like historical and video sake. I've always wanted one, not because to play on, but to have one. So I have it, and that's literally the only reason. Like, genuinely. Hard drives in. Put some more thermal paste on here. This shit's old. Oh god, there's a corpse there. Oh, that's absolutely caked on there, dude. That is horrible. They put so much on it, too. I need more Q-tips. Probably the best I'm gonna get it. Oh, look at that. That's just disgusting. Like, I should have wore gloves, man. I should have just fucking wore gloves. I have no shout. I have no doubt that I am gonna have like a lot of shots where my hair is just absolutely in the way. Jesus Christ. So my camera shut off like halfway through a sentence because the card was full because I'm stupid. How was this one put on for? Did I put it upside down? Mom, I put the heatsink on upside down. Guess who has to reapply thermal paste? I knew this was I was like, there's no way I can put this thing upside down. That's right. That's the perfect shape. At least it's not extremely dry. I'm gonna need more Q-tips, god damn it. This is why I gotta use the 90%. I make shit harder for myself because everyone loves laughing at the fucking idiot. Dog, I cannot put my fingers anywhere. I hit my head on so many objects, which explains a lot. What the fuck? Oh, come on. Is this like supposed to do this? I'm just gonna ignore it. Okay, the button on this thing does not press all the time. But this thing... Ah, shit. Fuck. I made it worse. Oh, dude, I broke that. I straight broke it. Well, this thing lost a lot of its value. Like $3. Oh, boy. Shit. There it is. This button on this thing is just ass, like, in general. Maybe breaking it made it better. Who knows? Let's find out. That really slides on there. It's real nice. No wonder it slipped out of my hands. I'm not gonna bother cleaning that. I have to soak that in water. I will, like, soak that another day. Today is not that day. I like the way this fits. See, this is why I like technology. I'm a loser. Like, I see the things fit together, my brain goes, ah! Let's throw that baby right back in there. Oh! See, with the Dreamcast video, there's no reason to really open up that Dreamcast. Who knows, maybe that thing has cockroaches in it too. But it's also got covered in snow. Shouldn't have done that. Well, that's done. Now I'm gonna install more shit on it and see how it goes. Alright, with the new SSD and thermal paste, let's take this baby for a spin. I installed Pop! OS back onto it for comparison's sake, and obviously everything is just so much faster. Loading back onto this computer is a lot less painful. On the hard drive, opening and closing Steam took so long and sometimes it would hang for minutes without any sign of anything happening, but on the SSD it'll only hang for like 15 seconds. You probably think this is a joke, but when you shave off about 95% of your waiting time just to wait more to boot up your games, you start to feel a little fucking thankful it's only slightly annoying. On this install, I only really installed Borderlands 2 for the comparison point, and it was more than enough because for some reason the game ran worse now. Not by like a horrible amount, but still enough for it to be noticeable right away, and I had no clue what was causing this, so I tried forcing Proton, and for some reason this forced Linux to use my Windows save file, because for some reason Linux and Windows versions of Borderlands actually have different save files. Frankly, I wasn't sure about how I felt about this operating system segregation, but right now I'm feeling pretty offensive. Oddly enough, the Windows version is running better. It's hard to tell, it's a different area, but overall I'd say it was. So once again, Linux is just confusing. Screw all this, let's just see how this thing does emulation. Emulation is probably where this thing is going to reign supreme, so I'm going to give it some fair tests. PS3 emulation is extremely hard. You need good hardware, but I'm going to play it safe and try Demon's Souls. This title is probably the easiest big PS3 game to emulate, so if it can't run this, it can't run anything worthwhile on RPCS3, and well, it ran pretty well. Right out of the gate, at normal settings, it held a solid 30 FPS with no drops whatsoever. There was some loading issues, as you can see right here, but I think that's actually the result of the asynchronous shader compilation, and that I could fix this to not be as bad. It's honestly doing way better than I expected. This is genuinely a decent way to play Demon's Souls if you can fix the loading pop-in. So, you know, if you have one of these for some reason, you can give it a go. The other benchmark I want to give is Switch emulation. Switch emulation is pretty messy right now, and look at that, DGS runs perfectly. It's listed as perfect emulation, so if you don't want to buy more than one copy, or have 30 like me, you can always dump your copy and play it on your shitty Steam machine that you very obviously have. So let's try Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. This one is not listed as perfect, and oh, this is gameplay. It's not frozen, it's running. And there it is. Oh, and we got whatever's going on here. And never mind, we're back. Obviously, this doesn't run well. This game hardly runs on Switch, so emulation being unrefined, it doesn't run well here either, so I thought I'd throw another curveball at it and run Metroid Prime Remastered on it. I didn't do any settings changes or edits to Yuzu, this is just how it runs. Epilepsy warning if you are epileptic. It's not flashing lights, but it's definitely something I'd, warn you to look away from. This game just came out, and it runs heavy quotation marks on that shit, but the only way to describe it is clown vomit. This is clown vomit. These two are, examples of things that don't run well. If a game says it runs perfectly on Yuzu, it'll probably run on this, but don't try anything else. So because of these, I didn't bother to try any other emulation, because if it emulates these, it'll emulate pretty much every other emulator you want to try. GameCube, Wii, PS2, PSP, Game Boy. This is a very good emulation PC. So with all this testing, there's just one thing I've learned a lot. Most of it is that Pop! OS kind of just sucks, at least on this hardware, I think. Despite installing this operating system twice, and both installs had problems where they refuse to fully shut down, it'll freeze on the shutdown screen sometimes and just never shut off. Programs will refuse to close, programs often freeze and need to be closed to reopen them. It's generally just an unenjoyable, unresponsive experience. So to test, I just installed Ubuntu, and it worked pretty much perfectly. So is this a Pop! OS problem? A hardware problem? Or a Pop! OS not liking my hardware problem? I don't fucking know, man. I'm fucking tired. Nothing makes sense. So why did this thing fail? Well, there's a lot of reasons. A lot. The Steam machine is, as I've been saying, a PC. I'll always defend PC gaming. It's far more plug and play than people like to make it out to be. You don't always have to update drivers. You don't always have to do some sort of bug or booting issue. And when you do, well, you live in a modern world. You should know how to use a computer. If you're a teenager or in your 20s watching this, I know you've almost certainly helped some older person do something you think is incredibly easy to figure out, like on a phone or the TV. It's frustrating, right? Well, that's what it's like when you tell people like me that PC gaming is complicated. It's not that we don't want to help you or something, it's that this should be common knowledge. It really shouldn't be hard to Google how to fix the problem, because 9 times out of 10, that's all you have to do to fix a problem. Now, don't think of this as me insulting your intelligence if you don't know how to do this, or you never had the chance to learn how to do this. I just wish that this information was taught more accessibly in schools or something like that. So don't be insulted and don't feel worse or scared to ask people like me or people in forums. A lot of people are assholes about this stuff, and it shouldn't be anything where you're scared to ask people how to fix a problem with a computer. It should be normal. And I am telling you now, as someone who has been helping my friends and my family do computer things, sometimes it's annoying, but it's only when you can fix the issue and you didn't try. If you didn't try, please just try. Try and fix the problem, do a Google, and try to retain that information. This is just a genuine thing of me reaching out to you. You're not going to know everything. You're going to need some help with some things, and that's okay. That's what dealing with technology is. You're always going to need to figure out how to solve a problem. It's better than always having to bring your phone to someone so that they can fix it, if you can fix it yourself, right? Just something I want to say, you know, learn technology. It's really not that hard. You're going to have these problems with consoles. You're going to have it with your phones. If you don't, you're just going to become the old person that you are tired of dealing with today, who doesn't know how to send a text message or open up the front camera. Now, I've personally gotten to the point where most problems on PC, I don't need Google to fix them, but they come up. It's part of life. And consoles also need troubleshooting sometimes. It's not just a PC thing. Some of the worst troubleshooting I've ever done has been on consoles. But that's where this gets messy, because this thing ran Linux. There were so many problems that stemmed from that the average person just doesn't know about. And I've put a bit of hours of research and my general knowledge of computers into this, and I couldn't find issues or solve most of them. Most people on this planet only know how to use Windows or Mac, so if you had a problem on SteamOS, you had a problem. And most of these problems were because it was a Linux-based operating gaming system. Linux users, you can whine all you want, but as of right now, for gaming, Linux isn't a suitable replacement for Windows. It's just not. With the Steam Deck, Valve's efforts into Proton compatibility, and SteamOS 3.0, Linux is more compatible as a gaming platform than it ever was, but that's now, and this thing was then. Even with the advancements we've had on Linux, we still don't get games like Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege or Destiny 2 or whatever major game the Western audience is obsessed with right now. Because of things like anti-cheat not supporting Linux, and probably never will. Right now, a lot of games use Easy Anti-Cheat, and Easy Anti-Cheat has Linux compatibility, but most games just choose not to enable it for some reason. So, if we have these problems today, imagine what it was like to buy one of these back in 2015. You would have had to buy the ones that had Windows installed on them when they were available, or else you had to be the one to buy Windows, which can be over $100, and install it yourself. And as we've established, even you watching this probably don't know how to do that. That's not your fault. It would be a learning experience, but why should it be up to you to buy something new and expecting it to work, right? Your favorite game that was on PC back in 2015 probably didn't work on this thing right away, if at all. And it's a big possibility that you could have bought something expecting it to work, because look at all these games you can buy on Steam. They have to work, right? You put your money down and oops, it would work if you were on Windows. And that doesn't even begin to touch about how much this thing was delayed. Originally scheduled for a release in 2014, it was pushed all the way back to the end of 2015. If you wanted one of these, you were waiting for a while for a very confusing product, because instead of just having one machine, you had multiple by different companies, and those companies were selling different versions of the same PC. Think about the current confusion of the Xbox branding and its recent consoles. Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X. To anyone outside of the gaming market, none of these names are indicative of what you should buy and for what reason. It's this, but much worse, because now you have Alienware, Main Gear, Material, Scan3XS, Cyber, Zotac, Nen. What does this mean to anyone? The only brand here that is recognizable is Alienware. So obviously most, and honestly, if not all sales, were for the Alienware Steam Machine, and these, as far as I can tell, were the worst value Steam machines for the price. But obviously the average consumer doesn't know that. And I went out and did some digging for the Cyber Steam Machine. I couldn't find any models of this in the wild or on eBay or any sort of third-party website, but I was able to find the website and dig up the $500 model off the website, and the hardware it had is far, and I mean far superior than anything the Alienware had. And I'm betting you, no one bought these, because who the fuck is Cyber? I didn't know who Cyber was before I made this video. The average person is going to see Alienware. And Alienware is just known as that gaming computer company that sells the good computers. But if you ask anyone who actually knows computers, they're going to tell you Alienware is garbage. And looking at these specs, the CPU isn't as good, but the graphics card more than makes up for it, because you can get by on a mediocre CPU for gaming, but you can't get by on a bad laptop GPU. Buying the most expensive Alienware Steam machine, you are getting a worse experience than what you could have gotten for cheaper with Cyber, because it's what I can best describe as a balanced system. Neither the CPU or GPU are powerful, but that means they aren't going to be too one-sided. You got a nice little system here if you bought this, which you probably didn't, because I can't find anything of this. I cannot find a single model online. If you watch this video and you go out and look for these, please tell me if you find anything of these models, because I can't find anything. This is the only model I was able to find, the Alienware. But in comparison to Cyber, what the Alienware did was essentially the equivalent of putting a Ferrari engine in a golf cart. It just doesn't make sense. But even then, you could probably build a better computer on your own than buying from Cyber. But then you'd also have to factor in the price of buying Windows on top of that. So in the end, that Cyber Steam machine actually was pretty good. In theory, because I obviously don't have one. But that was just the cheapest model. There was apparently 4 Cyber Steam machines, and for the rest of these models, like Main Gear, there was probably more under them too. It's just a confusing mess to have 6 companies all making different computers, and then several of their own computers for different prices with different levels of performance for a consumer base that has no idea what they want and why they would want it. And the ones people would buy, Alienwares, were getting far less value than any of these other Steam machines. So I started looking for footage of these Steam machines, trying to find them on YouTube, maybe some unboxings or reviews, but I just couldn't find anything. The ones you can find aren't really labeled as Steam machines because of the delays Valve did, and these companies just didn't want their stock sitting on shelves, so they pushed them out without the branding. But I did find this cool video by Gamers Nexus that Wait. What the hell are these? These weren't on the website. Where the hell are these? There was more? These? There was more Steam machines? Where did they go? Did I miss something? Where were these discussed? Were they ever brought up on the website? I can't find articles mentioning these, and holy shit, the Wayback Machine. It's gotta be there. When I was searching for these pages, the Steam Machine page is still up, but brings up a blank page. And sometime in 2018, the Steam Machines were delisted, resulting in what we have now. So I only went back to 2016 when they should have been in the release. So if I go back to before the release date, there they are! What the hell? Why were there so many? Where did these go? They all existed here back in 2013 and were on the website pretty much all the way until launch. And I can't find a damn thing about these. Not being sold, being pulled from the website, or companies backing out. I just can't find anything about this. I found some articles about some of them under the prototype designs and some fancy lights, but nothing of these things actually running or having hardware in them. Nothing. I can't prove or find that these ever existed outside of these display models, or ever were anything but a bunch of empty cases, or had plans to sell them past the initial concept phase. So I kept digging and digging for something, and kept getting these weird videos and vague titles of Valve sending them boxes. Frankly, I thought nothing of them, so I didn't really pay attention. Just thought people were being sent a big box with a prototype Steam controller, and we're talking about the Steam machine and being excited about that. No. These are all Steam machine unboxing videos. And not just Steam machine unboxing videos. Prototypes. So it turns out, in 2013, Valve sent out 300 prototype PCs with an early version of SteamOS, a prototype Steam controller, to a bunch of complete and fucking random nobodies. And I don't mean that as an insult. These are genuinely just average, everyday people. No large online presence, no big YouTube channels, no reach. People like me. Just some people who signed up for a raffle and got chosen to be one of the people who get a free PC with SteamOS on it, give some feedback, bug test. So I went searching for more of these videos because now I'm under the assumption that there's gotta be around 300 of these things. I should at least find most of them. I really looked for hours, and a lot of these are just really shitty cameras in a poorly lit room and people excited to open up their new free PC box. It's genuinely such a bizarre move from Valve to do this because these prototypes are stacked with really good hardware from 2013. Most, as far as I'm aware of, came with GTX 780s, but some others had Titan 760s, 660s, most had i7 4770s, but there were some others with lower spec CPUs and a 1TB hybrid hard drive that had 8GB of solid state memory. These computers were worth a lot of money, so the fact that Valve just sent these out to people, lottery style, is insane, so I just had to know. I commented on a few YouTube videos and did some searching for these people who had these videos up because, honestly, most of these channels are dead ends. Untouched for years, no personal information, dead links, you name it. Well, I got in contact with two people. This is Jessica and this is Brandon, both owners of the Steam Machine prototype. In the nearly 10 years that have passed since they got these things, life has obviously changed a lot. Jessica is currently a software engineer at Google, and Brandon is a family man. Sorry, Brandon, I forgot if I asked what your job was. I'm very forgetful, and it's not in the chats. And I got them both for interviews. But first, a showcase of the prototype. Hello, Brandon.
How's it going?
I'm just going to acknowledge that this is our second time recording this because I'm stupid. I'm just going to keep it going. I'm stupid. Whatever.
How about I start by just saying, like, hello to your audience? I can introduce myself. Well, formally, I can say, hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Janik, and I was one of the 300. So,
There we go.
Yes.
You have a Steam Machine prototype.
That's right.
And obviously you're one of the 300 random people to have one of these things.
That's right. Yep. There was 30, and then there was the remaining to fill up 300 were random selected. I was one of the lower numbers, actually. So I'm not really sure. I wasn't given confirmation, but I was one of the lower numbers, under 30. So
Okay.
believe I was actually selected.
So
But
you were like one of Valve's specifically chosen.
there, like I said, yeah, there was 30 that were specifically chosen, and then the remaining were randomly selected. And my number was under 30, the number on the unit. So I just assumed that I was giving support on the forums for Linux titles on Steam at the time. So kind of just seemed relevant and made sense at the time.
Obviously, I asked you, and you said that you still have it. It was in your storage, and you said it's been years since you used it. So
Yeah, it's been, I mean, at least 5 years. When I built my last gaming PC, that was when I got the original Oculus Quest. So, like, before that, I think I was still connecting the Steam Machine to my, like, home theater setup. But I didn't use it very often. It's been running Windows for a while because at the end of the, like, real beta testing process, I just had so many bugs with Linux that I got tired of having to constantly switch back and forth between beta, unbeta, beta, so I could keep some of the drivers functioning. Particularly audio was bad, where I'd reboot and the audio wouldn't work at all. So I just said, I'm just going to put Windows on this, and it became my couch gaming machine. But yeah, once I built that new gaming PC, specifically at the time I was real into VR and was like, I want to get something that can power a VR headset. That's when I really stopped using it entirely, and it just went into storage.
how's the condition of this thing? Like, it's nearly 10 years old now. It's got to be in
Condition?
yeah, the condition of your prototype.
It's only moved once, so it's in great condition. I've taken really good care of it. I keep it clean. Every time I vacuum the room, I vacuum the top of the Steam Machine. And then it's like a micro ATX or something. It's a tiny little ATX motherboard inside there.
Mhm.
And there is an i5 and the tiniest little CPU heatsink and fan I've ever seen. And maybe like 5 years in, there was an issue where the plastic that holds the actual fan to the heatsink started cracking. So I ordered another unit because I did track it down. And I ended up just gluing it with epoxy, and it's been holding since. And so I just left that alone. That's the only repair I've had to do on it. The 780 has an NVIDIA GTX 780 in there, and that got a little bit clogged up with dust one time, and I had to kind of figure out how to clean that out. But aside from those things, it's really pretty pretty low maintenance. Yeah, right now
OS.
it's running Windows 7 exclusively. I need to update it to 10. I don't know if I can even run Steam OS on it, or I would just run Linux and just run Steam on it. I mean, but it's working well the way it is right now. It basically just boots up into big picture mode, and if the kids want to play Minecraft on it, they can switch out and play Minecraft.
I think I got to the point where when I no longer had access to report bugs in their Jira instance, because they had set up Jira for us. If you're unfamiliar, Jira is like a commonly used internal tool for a lot of software engineering for tracking bugs and issues and being able to assign them to people and like do burn downs and stuff. But once that access was turned off, I was like, well, I can't report bugs anymore, so I guess I'm just going to do what I want with this.
Yeah. Brandon told me a little bit about Jira. He said that the project has been completely deleted, can't find any trace of it,
Yes.
nothing. He still has
Not surprising.
Would you say that at least the performance was, you know, when you were playing a game, was it satisfactory? Was it below standard? Or was it, you know, it was enough? Just
Oh
to
no,
go
it worked
play.
great. When it worked, without the driver issues, like my experience in launching games that actually worked in Linux was seamless. I didn't have any issues with it at all, other than like when I encountered those driver issues. The big frustration for me was that, you know, at the time we didn't have the Proton layer that we have now with Linux. So the game support was just so limited, and most of the time the games I wanted to play were not available to me. That was my deepest frustration with the whole thing. But the games that I played were great. No performance issues at all. And yeah, like I played the Talos Principle entirely on Linux at the time and loved it. I still think that game is fantastic.
Okay. And once again, since I did ask you this, you have the box, and how was
Crate.
that like shit in the crate? Yes.
Crate.
How was the shipping experience for that? And
That thing
you
is
know,
pretty
bringing it
cool.
in?
All right. So it arrived just before Christmas, and it was just dropped off on the front porch. It's a big plywood crate, and it's got some stencils spray painted onto it, and the thing had industrial band straps around it, and it had these spring-loaded handles on the side and a big clasp on the front. It's actually pretty impressive. I'll send you a picture of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I imagine the person delivering it had a hard time with it because it is quite heavy, and one of the handles was broken off and just kind of hanging there. And it had a shock sticker on it too. I don't remember if the shock sticker was triggered or not. One of those like shipping, looks like a stop sign.
Oh yes.
It's got like a little thing that I don't know. It turns green if it gets dropped or something, I think. But anyway, inside the thing's like protected by about 4 inches of block foam on all sides. So the thing is just massively overprotected. So yeah, even though it looked like it was probably dropped, it was fine. I did an unboxing video where I kind of just opened the lid and revealed it. And you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
There's been a few of them. Did you see the one where the guy put it in a toilet?
No, but I'd really
my God.
appreciate you helping me find that.
Well, yeah, there was one where they unboxed it, and then they pretended to do some kind of like cult-like chanting procession, saying like "Gay Ben," and then they like ended up with it in the toilet and throwing hot dogs on it and eggs, raw eggs.
like how to basic?
How to steam
Okay.
machine.
Oh god. I'm kind of upset I didn't see that one because
How to steam machine.
that is that what it's
Let me
called?
see if I can find. I think that's what it's called.
Oh my god.
Came with the steam machine, and it came with that prototype controller. And the prototype controller had the dual track pads. And had 4 more buttons in the middle, and then 4 more buttons kind of around the middle buttons. All of the middle buttons were almost useless. I suppose you could kind of like reach in and hit the A, B, X, Y buttons, which were like, there was 2 adjacent to the left, and two adjacent to the right thumb trackpads.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put like a photo on the screen when we're talking about this.
Yeah,
because
and I have that too.
It is genuinely like really bad design to have 4 buttons in the middle like that.
It was weird. I remember they said that they were gonna replace it with maybe like a screen, which I remember thinking would be really cool.
Yeah, like
So
doing
we've
this in
got-
real time.
We've got the actual machine right here, and the actual prototype controller that was not wireless.
Oh yeah, it wasn't.
You had to plug it in, and I mean, look at this thing.
It's so ugly. I like it.
And like, here's the production model, right? Like,
Yeah.
production model. There's a significant difference. Like, when they announced this, like, the teaser had this, like, touchscreen in the middle, and that clearly did not pan out. They probably tried to, like, design it and went, this is going to take too much battery, and decided not to. But, like, these corner buttons here are still a terrible design. I mean, the concept behind it was cool.
Yeah.
Like as a designer, the thought of like, oh, I've got these inner and outer rings. I can like move faster, and I have some semblance of like signal from the little like ridges on the touchpads that I am like at the right place to move faster. But in practicality, it wasn't enough.
When the retail version was released, if you updated Steam, it stopped working. So like it just turned into just a keyboard basically. I can't remember, like if it like QWERTY, like it seriously just did like top row of the keyboard when you would push buttons, and then some other buttons were like your arrows up, down, left, right. So it was basically useless. So I put it away, and I ended up buying a retail. They didn't offer me one. I wish they did. That would have been a nice gesture, but they didn't. But I ended up buying one, and I kept using it. I loved, because I was at that point I was adopted to the touch.
It's still blowing my mind that I am 23 now, turning 24, and when you got these, I would have been 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And
No, that's
you
right.
have children now.
Exactly.
I could have children now. I'm lonely. Women, please talk to me.
We don't need to go down that road.
Hey man, I'm hoping this video gets like 1,000 views. Maybe there's a woman out there that's interested in the Steam Machine.
Hey, I use it all the time. So my kids and I will play games. We just beat Castle Crashers 2-3 days ago on it. We'd been playing it for like a year, and we finally got good and figured out how to actually do damage and progress.
Do your kids even like understand that you have like this odd
They don't
like
know what it
hardware?
is.
Yeah, they just
No.
accept it as what it is. They don't understand that they have one of 300 possible rare
No, they have no idea.
supercomputers from
They have-
2013.
All they know is that I get upset if they put anything liquid on the thing over it. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Like any responsible father.
Yeah. So I don't think it's anything special. I don't remember what number it was.
Yeah.
I think I said it to you. It was like
Yeah.
19 or 28 or.
I had
something
I had to find it in your video, so that's why I'm not gonna ask it.
It's on the back. There's a little stick. This is actually hilarious. So there is 300 holes in the top. Okay.
Okay.
And one of the holes is countersunk, and everybody's lid is different. It has a different hole that's been countersunk. Okay? The countersunk hole corresponds to what unit is. So
Okay.
it was always like the testers were really confused at first about like, well, do you read it like left to right from this side, or do you like, is it rotated this way? Like, because it's just a grid, so how do you count it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's an interesting piece, but it's confusing as hell.
One day, somebody realized that there's a dang sticker on the back of the case, and there's a number on the sticker, and the number corresponds to what hole it is. So it was actually really easy to figure out at that point. But it's basically like right on the back of the case, like where the the accessory ports are and stuff like that.
I'm sure it's on your box, but do you remember what number you were?
Someone posted the exact number. It wasn't actually, unless there's some place I'm supposed to look on the box. I never really paid attention to that, but you can identify it based on
Yes.
which one is drilled out.
He actually
And so,
told me that,
right
and I
here.
don't. Okay, and then like there's a sticker on the inside that he said that like it'll tell you.
Well,
Obvi.
Let's
did
find
you?
out.
Yeah, he said there's a
There's-
sticker on the inside on the under plate that would tell you which way it's going. And I only found that out when I interviewed him because we'd been talking for like a week beforehand. It's like a sticker somewhere.
There isn't a sticker here. This is the inside.
Okay.
Uh,
Maybe it's under.
yeah, there's some stickers right on top of the power supply, but it is not anything that's identifying.
Cool. I just unpurposefully spread misinformation online.
Well, that's not to say that theirs didn't have that, but I mean, for anybody who's curious, like this is how it looks on the inside.
Let me
And-
move that over a little bit. Okay. Yeah.
Like you've got the GeForce logo here, power supply is down here. We've got probably processor here. There's the hard drive.
It's so cleanly put together.
It's so cleanly put together is right. I can't see where the memory is. It's probably
It's probably
Probably.
next to the GPU somewhere.
yeah. I mean, it's probably underneath this part. But yeah, there's only one screw that you have to remove. Oh, the memory is right here, but I can't. I can't really see them. There's two sticks, but yeah, I don't see any identifying information as far as exactly which number, just based on looking. If you're curious, you can see that this is the front, and the hole is drilled here, so it's 3 over and 2 down from the top. So that would tell you the exact number.
All right, Snoozie,
Have a nice night, Brandon. Thank you very much.
and you as well.
Gaming's great. It's something I've done my whole life. I think it's great that it's accessible to everyone, and it's something I expect I'll do the rest of my life. And I'm just really grateful that like Valve gave me the opportunity to just even play with this hardware. So, and yeah, I guess that's about it. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, the old nerd stuff. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, here. You're gonna do your nerd stuff. Let me get my nerd stuff. Please buy the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
The Steam Machine is really a sad part of Valve's history. No one really talks about this thing outside of insulting Valve and their dedication to hardware and software. And in this case, I'd say it's pretty deserved. The Steam Machine really was a huge failure. Having sold less than 500,000 copies between several companies, that is a huge unmitigated failure. And I can't really praise it as a failure like the Dreamcast or the GameCube or the Wii U or whatever failures are out there. But was it really a complete failure?
The Steam Deck is everything the Steam Machine was trying to be, without all the confusion, the poor design choices, whatever. Everyone was rightfully skeptical because, really? Valve is making another console PC hybrid thing, and this one is a portable, and it again runs on Linux? This sounds like we're not learning from history and doomed to repeat it. But I was personally optimistic about this thing. I knew Linux gaming had come a long way, and even if it didn't, I'd just install Windows on this thing and have a decently priced portable gaming PC. It wouldn't be perfect, but it'd be better than spending thousands on things like Aya Neo and getting a similar experience. And it's pretty powerful for a handheld PC that's only running off an integrated graphics card inside the CPU. You can play pretty much any game you want on this. Not all of them will run well, and some will absolutely drain the battery. It's just genuinely such a great system that I use all the time. I think that the Steam Machine was a great idea at the wrong time with the wrong mindset. And I really wanted to show you that by putting the latest Steam Deck SteamOS on the Steam Machine, and that would clear up a lot of issues that the Steam Machine had. But sadly, right now, SteamOS doesn't support NVIDIA graphics cards, And the only way to get NVIDIA graphics cards running on this thing properly is through community-driven releases like HoloOS that, once again, doesn't really support the 860M in this thing. The 40 FPS option in SteamOS would do a lot of the heavy lifting on this thing considering how weak it is. At the end of the day, it really was just a computer. With all that said and done, I'm not really sure what to do with this thing. I might make it a media center, might make it a PC I stream to. It'll change over the years maybe, because it's not good enough to be an actual gaming PC, but it's not useless. So I think what I'm going to do is install something called Batocera onto it. It's another Linux distro, but it's specialized for emulation. And since this thing isn't really good at playing modern games, I might as well just turn it into a pretty powerful emulation system and throw it into another room in the house. It'll be better utilized there as a media center of sorts and not as a main gaming PC like it was sold as.
So, do I like this thing or not? I don't really know. I like the concept of it. This thing really isn't like any other hardware failures. It's just a computer. Especially within the past 5 to 6 years, you can get a computer half the size of this and still have it run games better than this could off the CPU alone. It had its own charm, I guess, but it's just a computer. And without SteamOS, it's even less interesting. If there's anything I can give it, it's that I love PCs. I technically spent way too much money on this thing for what I got. Technically, I spent too much money on this thing. It wasn't worth the amount of money I spent on it. But I'm glad I got it. It might not be a Steam Machine prototype or a better Steam Machine, but it's still a computer, and you can do whatever you want with a computer. And if I'm being honest, I think that's a good enough reason for me to own it. Holy shit. You're the guy that shot my Dreamcast. You think you can just come into my house and just shoot the Steam Machine right in front of me and get you? Yeah. Oh, he already shot it. Okay, he's gone. He's gone. He just disappeared into thin air. Don't even know where he went. Don't even know how he got in. Oh boy. Whatever.